Hello, my name is Crimson Nakobe, and okay, before I get into this, I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I have a vague sense of what I want to talk about in this video. That does not sound very good, but as a quick introduction, hi, I'm an artist. I love drawing, but there was a long period of time where I just thought I was straight up trash at art, like absolute garbage. And I am sure there are plenty of artists who have gone through that exact same phase. So, yeah, not exactly anything special there. Makes sense. But recently, I would say for like probably the past 2, maybe 3 years, I have thought less and less that I am a garbage trash artist, and now I think I'm like pretty alright at art, you know? Like I've gotten a lot better. Right now I'm showing some of my earlier work from like a couple of years ago. I think like probably more than a couple of years ago actually. um, of some of my OCs and how I used to draw them, and they look completely different. I will probably do a separate video where I actually show the transformation of how they got from this to where they look now, but that's not the point of this video. Um, what even is the point of this video? I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to get out is now I am in this realm where I think if someone were to ask me, hey, are you good at drawing? I'd be like, yeah, I think I am. I'm all right. You know, not the best, but yeah, I'm good. But I want to get to a point where someone asks if I'm good at drawing. I don't know who this hypothetical person is and why they're asking me this, but if someone were to ask me, hey, are you good at drawing? Or hey, can I see some of your work? I want to freaking be so goddamn proud, maybe even a little bit smug about pulling out my work and be like, check this shit. And just be like, yeah, I'm pretty damn good. You know, I want to get to that point, but I'm not at that point right now. I'm at a point where out of like every few sketches or drawings, illustrations, whatever I do, maybe like 1 or 2 of them, I'm like, damn, that looks pretty nice. But then over time, I'm like, no, it's all right. Like, I don't hate it. I don't suddenly look back and like, damn, this actually sucks. I'm just like, okay, now I was like riding the high from just finishing a piece because I don't do that often. And then later on, I'm like, you know, maybe I could have like changed this or that or whatever, you know, and it would have looked like way better. So now I'm kind of in this like state of being like an intermediate artist. And I feel like there are so many artists online, or just in general, honestly, but online is, I guess, kind of where I'm trying to focus on with this, where I feel like they are like in that intermediate, mid-tier sort of space. You know, they have a very modest following. Their work is good, but probably not something you'd want for like professional level like work. But you know, they're artists too, and like their work honestly is pretty good. And while it may not be like the best of the best, I would probably still wouldn't like second guessing their work on like some sort of like promotional material, like in some sort of like bigger project. Like, you know, like I think there are a lot of artists that are kind of like stuck in that like mid tier intermediate level, and then they might hit a plateau, they might grow out of it. I don't know. You know, every artist is different. But for me personally, I feel like I'm kind of sort of hitting a plateau. And that is kind of the point of why I am, I guess, doing this. Especially if you saw the thumbnail, I'm trying to get better at art. I'm trying to get out of that sort of intermediate mid-tier state, or at the very least just be on the higher end of that spectrum, because there's a lot of artists who I wouldn't call professional level, or whatever companies probably wouldn't call professional level. I don't know. Again, everything's like case by case, but you know, but their art is still pretty damn good, you know, like they're probably satisfied with it, their audience is satisfied with it, and hell, they probably even got like a few gigs or are able to make like at least a living off of it. And that is perfectly fine. I don't think every artist out there is looking to be like this gigantic big name that like is constantly getting signed for like new gigs and stuff. That makes sense. Um, so I really want to sort of make an active effort to try to break past like the limits that I feel like I've set for myself recently, because I never went to art school. I don't really study like art, really. Like I don't study anatomy. I don't study um, perspective. You know, the usual things. I haven't even done that like whole like draw a bunch of boxes in different angles like challenge. I might actually do that later though, whenever I get to that point. But you know, a lot of my growth as an artist has just been from like just going at it, maybe looking at other artists, maybe looking at some real life reference here and there, until like things just suddenly start to click for me. And you know that it's worked so far. You know, I've gotten a lot better by doing that, but I feel like my growth has been a lot slower than what it could have been if I had made more of a conscious effort to learn, and you know, not just go through like the whole like rigmarole that like you expect people to go through. Like I'm never going to go to art school. I don't want to do a full-on art school course. Like the anatomy you see me drawing now is like I'm doing this because I want to learn how to draw my characters better, but I'm never gonna draw them as realistic as like a actual human being. You know, I have a certain style, certain aesthetic that I want to go for, but to make my art better, I should at least have a decent understanding of how, you know, anatomy works and such. You know, like I have at least like a somewhat clear idea of where I want to be as an artist. And so this is kind of like me just getting like my bearing. Like I'm just like, okay, let's just do a couple studies here and there. If I'm being honest, I was kind of all over the place with what I was doing. I don't have an exact like way that I study, because like I said earlier, I don't really do art studies a lot. So it's kind of all over the place. And eventually I am going to start narrowing it down to stuff that is more specific. Areas where I notice that I'm struggling in more, I'm going to probably do videos later on being like, hey, this video, I'm going to try to get better at drawing faces or, you know, muscles or whatever, you know. This is kind of like a intro just to be like, hey, like, I wonder how much of an improvement or how many mistakes I can notice, you know, just from like doing these simple like anatomy drawing lessons. Like it's like, oh, hey, I didn't notice this before, now I do, and hopefully I can incorporate that into my drawings going forward. So yeah, that's like kind of what I'm hoping to achieve with this. And I also want to just get ahead on this. Some people, if they even are bothering to comment, have probably already commented something about this, but I'm not looking for I mean, I don't mind critiques, whatever, critique my art, but I'm not looking for people to give me their 2 cents or be like, hey, you should do this. I'm sorry, I'm not looking for that. I have resources that I can go to if I want to find reference, if I want to find lessons. I have certain artists that I like, that I trust to give me information. If people want to drop like some tips or tricks in the comments, like, I mean, feel free to do so, but just know that there is a chance I might just ignore it, or I might see it and be like, oh, you know what, actually might have a point. But that is not what I'm looking for. And I'm also, of course, as you probably could have gathered by now, not trying to teach anyone. If anyone sees what I'm doing or hears anything I say, and they have a sudden epiphany, and they learn a thing or two or take something away from it, cool, great, I love that. But I'm not here to be a teacher. I'm not one of those artists that's like, hey, you need to stop doing this and start doing this, and then you'll get better at art in 24 hours. Like, that's not me. My position is basically as an everyday average mid-tier artist, like I'm sure so many people who might even be watching this video might be, and like mid-tier, intermediate, whatever might sound kind of like discouraging or bad, or like I don't know, like, but I don't think it is, because I think like you have like beginner artists or noobs, whatever, complete amateurs who have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and obviously we all start off at that point at some point whenever we start drawing. And yeah, it's like fun, at first, like it's like fun and frustrating, actually. It's frustrating because you're like, I don't know how to draw anything, but then like as you start like learning, like very quickly, because you literally go from 0 to like knowing how to draw a face properly, know how to draw a body properly, and learning like a little bit more about like perspective, or like how to like draw a face. I don't know, you just learn more, like I don't know, you learn more, and you learn it quickly. It may not be like the best, but hey, to you see, hey, I went from drawing like straight up stick figures to now I can draw like something that resembles an actual human being, or an animal, or a house, or furniture, or whatever. I don't know, whatever kind of artist you are. You went from being way worse to now being like slightly better. And then that kind of continues until you eventually reach a point where you are now no longer an amateur. You can probably replicate the skills that you have learned along the way, and now you are probably an intermediate level. Unless you're like incredibly talented, you're probably going to now be in that intermediate level where you have some idea of what you're doing, but the next step is like putting things into practice, being able to confidently, use skills that you've gained to, like make a piece that like you are proud of, or that like everyone like not everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, that a lot of people will like, and like obviously art is subjective as well, so like to one person your work might seem amateurish, or it might seem intermediate, and then to another person it might seem like super high level, professional level, type stuff. Like I'm sure there are a couple people who might even look at my work and be like, damn dude, you're like really good. And that's usually for people who aren't artists themselves, or they're like, dang, I don't know how to draw. Like, God, if I had a freaking nickel for every time someone said like, man, you're really good at drawing, I could barely draw a stick figure. I'm sure every goddamn artist on this planet has probably heard someone say that to them, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a little annoying. But that this shows again like how this whole thing is subjective. Like to some people, your art looks good, and I'm looking at some of the stuff I'm doing right now and I'm like, damn, I really struggle with drawing some of these faces. Like it's a speed draw, so you can't really tell, but some of these faces really had me struggling, because I don't draw like realistic people at all, or even like my own like variations of them. I don't really like drawing real people that much, but the characters that I make are at least approximations of what like real people should look like, but in my own style. That's kind of how drawing humans work. So it is important for me to like learn how to construct a normal face, and then figure out, okay, well, where can I go from here to make it look more interesting, more stylized. I feel like that was very important. So even though there were a lot of times during this process of drawing these faces where I really wanted to just stop and be like, this is stupid. I just kept on doing it. And some of these I actually think came out like all right, and others I'm like, actually, I'm not sure. But eventually I did get to a point where I was, drawing these faces and these poses. I'm going to do more pose focus work going forward as well. A lot of these were mainly just faces, but I also want to do more pose focus work because I feel like my posing is kind of dry in a lot of my work. So I definitely want to work on that as well. Yeah, I got to this final piece here where it showed more of the character or the person. This isn't a character, this is a real human being. This person's body. And, I was doing what I have been doing, where I'm drawing their actual face, trying my best to replicate it. Also, I need to probably change the process in which I do that, because for some reason I traced their faces first and then drew them, and sometimes I would when I was doing the freehand version, I was going off of my tracing, and I think that was probably messing me up quite a bit. But anyways, but once I drew their face, I didn't draw the rest of their body because I actually wanted to use this pose that I saw to draw my own character over it, because I was like, okay, this is getting to the end of a chapter in a lesson or workbook or whatever. It's okay, now apply what you've learned. And I wanted to sort of try to apply what I have learned so far from just these few sketches that I've done to then draw one of my OCs using this pose, albeit kind of in a weird mishmash of the way I normally draw faces with a slightly more realistic approach to it, to make a wholly original piece, just based off of this pose. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of was happy with it. In this video, you're probably not gonna see right now the fully rendered version. I don't like showing off my rendering process because I feel like it's horrendous. I do also need to work on that as well. Just go ahead and add that to the list of things I want to work on. But yeah, I was pretty happy with it, at least the sketch version, and I did eventually go on to color it later as well to have an actual kind of finished piece and not just a sketch, especially since it looks better in the thumbnail too. But yeah, I have a comparison between the last time I drew this character and the one I just did right now, and albeit I was kind of rushing myself with the version on the left, but I think even if I had given it a little more time, I don't know if I could have made it look as good as the one on the right before. And I'm happy with it. I even made very, very, very slight changes to how I drew her, and I'm you know what, this kind of gives off the energy I was kind of going for with this character. Not that I hate the version on the left side, I think it just has a totally different just vibe to it, a whole different style. It, I think both could work, but the one on the right is just more where I want it to be, more closer. It might still, this character and all the characters from this idea that I have might go through more changes in the future, but I landed on something I was a little more happy with. And I'm hoping that as I continue to do more of this training, more of this practice, that I just get to a place where every time I draw one of these characters, I'm hey, that's pretty good. Or hey, it might need a couple touches here and there, but overall pretty decent. I just want to be more proud of my work, be more happy with it, and I want to make a more conscious effort to grow, because I don't want to be stuck on a plateau. And I'm sure if I just kept on drawing normally at my usual pace, I would have eventually grow. But I'm at a point in my life where I want that growth to be at least a little bit more faster. I know you can't rush these things. You're not going to get 10 times better overnight. It takes, so many hours of drawing, and I need to just dedicate more time to that, plain and simple. But I want to at least have semblance of a plan of like what I'm going to do to better myself. And I eventually want to make more videos showing off like what I learned or what I realized like about my art and like my growth. And I hope that you guys are cool with watching that growth. I know this isn't the most exciting thing ever, you know. I'm not like professional artist, you know, drawing like all the cute hot anime babes and boyos and stuff, you know. I'm trying to get to that point. I want to draw hot anime characters. Okay, let me make that clear. That is my goal. I want to get to that point, and I feel like I am like so close to doing that, but I need to like better a few areas of my art. But yeah, I don't know how to end this video, so just let me know what you thought about what you saw here, and yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.